everyone. It's Thursday night, and it's time for TYT Community here on the TYT Network. I'm Jeff. I'm joined with Tom, Sean, and Haven for the night. Tom, Sean, and Haven, hey, welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, guys. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
I'm not glad.
Hello.
I'm contractually obligated, though.
Hello. I feel like a stalker now. I'm here.
Everyone forgive Tom. He has Ebola tonight.
Yes, I have Ebola tonight. That's the other thing there.
But anyway, Tom was nice enough to join us despite his prognosis. So, at any point in time in the show, if he starts bleeding from his eyes, he'll be okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly fine.
He'll be all right. Anyway, we got some great stories for you tonight. We will be talking a little bit about Ebola and Shep Smith. That's actually our first story. We also talk about Crossfire. Crossfire gets canceled. Amazing. Or is it amazing? Jimmy Johns, I've got a story on them. One of the most ridiculous polls, and Reagan Book. Reagan Book is back later on in the show. You guys are looking forward to Reagan Book. You're in the right place. So we start out first with our first story, and that is Shep Smith. Ebola has been a hot story. Understandably so, but with any major news of the day of clickbait scare media, you understandably get a lot of people with the vested interest to keep you scared, so you'll click on the next BuzzFeed list of 17 ways to spot if your neighbor has Ebola. So it was quite refreshing to see someone take a few minutes on cable television, of all places, to reassure Americans that we're not all destined to die a painful death while bleeding from our collective eyeballs. The irony is that this moment was shared on Fox News.
Together now. For the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the facts on Ebola. It'll take just 3 minutes. But first, today, given what we know, you should have no concerns about Ebola at all. None, I promise. Unless a medical professional has contacted you personally and told you of some sort of possible exposure, fear not. Do not listen to the hysterical voices on the radio and the television or read the fear-provoking words online. The people who say and write hysterical things are being very irresponsible. You have to remember that in the middle of all of this, you have to remember that there is politics in the mix. With midterm elections coming, the party in charge needs to appear to be effectively leading. The party out of power needs to show that there is a lack of leadership. So the president has canceled a fundraising trip and is holding meetings, and his political opponents are accusing his administration of poor leadership. For the purpose of this fact dissemination exercise, those matters are immaterial. Again, these are the facts. We do not have an outbreak of Ebola in the United States, nowhere. We do have 2 healthcare workers who contracted the disease from a dying man. They are isolated. There is no information to suggest that the virus has spread to anyone in the general population of America. Not one person in the general population in the United States. Suggestions have been made publicly that leaders and medical professionals may be lying to us. Those suggestions are completely without basis in fact. There is no evidence of any kind of which we at Fox News are aware that leaders have lied about anything regarding Ebola. I report to you with certainty this afternoon that being afraid at all is the wrong thing to do. Being petrified, and that's a quote, is ridiculous. The panic that has tanked the stock market and left people fearful that their children will get sick at school is counterproductive and lacks basis in fact or reason. There is no Ebola spreading in America. Should that change, our reporting will change. But there is nothing to indicate that it will. Best advice for you and your family at this moment, get a flu shot. Unlike Ebola, flu is easily transmitted. Flu, along with resulting pneumonia, killed 52,000 Americans last year alone. A flu shot will reduce your chance of getting flu. So get one.
Well, there you go. Nothing to worry about. Now, this is irony at best, as many of the opinion shows on Fox News are spreading that type of panic that Shep Smith was warning about. But it's also just as Smith said, it is an election year, with the midterms, and Ebola has, of course, been turned into a political tool, just as every other issue has. So, what do you guys think? Sean?
Well, first of all, as we all know, Fox News is a source of truth and honorable information, and Shepard Smith has once again delivered on that. Just kidding about part of that, but yeah, Shepard Smith actually did a great job there. It's funny, there's a little side note. Under him was a scroll that was actually talking about Ebola, which under the breaking news category, but that's not his fault. It's good to hear somebody be the voice of reason. It's not rare, really, but it is rare, but it has happened before that it was Shepard Smith, and the fact that it's on Fox is a good thing. The fact that he addressed it very, very straightforward is a good thing. The fact that he said it does not spread like the flu is a great thing. And I just say good job on him. And I'll give credit to a few other Fox hosts that I've seen clips of being reasonable about Ebola. But we know that the vast majority of the news in general has been pushing the panic button. There was a great survey of college students in Rutgers that found that the people who are following Ebola the most happen to be the people who are the most misinformed about Ebola, and that just goes to show you how bad of a job the news is doing at fear-mongering. So good job, Shepard Smith. Hang in there. Voice of reason on the Starship deck with all those iPads behind you. Good man.
I would say it's rather interesting that Shepard Smith picked today to have his newsroom / Walter Cronkite moment. He does do that every blue moon, so that's nice. I think it's interesting to see this slow kind of turn away from the crazy that Fox News is doing. There's been more and more frequent stories of them showing that they're not entirely insane. And I think Chris Wallace and Shepard Smith are the two that have been at the forefront of it. But, Ebola is a serious enough, illness where being hyperbolic and going crazy about the situation does a disservice, especially after this second nurse who got sick.
All right, Tom?
Can I just say something? I just find it funny that people are saying Fox News and attributing that to the voice of reason. I mean, this is Fox News. This is the same network, 30 minutes later, we'll have hours and hours of coverage of them freaking out about after he just said don't freak out about it. I don't see why we're giving them praise. I mean, okay, we pat you on your back head. Oh, you did a good job. You were the voice of reason for 5 minutes out of a 24/7 news cycle. Why are we even giving them this little nugget of? I don't. It blows my mind. But every once in a while, I guess you gotta give somebody a cookie, and Shep Smith gets the cookie and then gets all the bashing from everybody else because he's not towing the freak out thing. I just find it highly ironic that we're giving them a minuscule amount of praise in this.
Well, we're not giving Fox News praise. We're giving Shep Smith praise, which now and again Shep Smith has shown to be somewhat rational. And I think that rationality does deserve, since, I mean, I get your point.
Okay,
hold on. It is kind of funny. You do point out something that makes a lot of sense. The entire channel is batshit crazy, and it makes no sense that we should praise the one nugget of rationality within that sea of insane batshit crazy. I get that, but at the same time, we live in the world where the batshit crazy has taken over everything, and we'll take what we can get.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that while he's praising Shep Smith for his stellar 3 minutes of yay, this is the same guy that I pointed out on my show did a 10-minute rant about how the double-decker buses in when they crashed into a light and some people got injured were evil and a virus on the city of Manhattan. And he didn't understand how they were taking over the city. He's not rational by any means. So just because for once he, is a friend of the LGBT community because he's gay and because he has this moment of rationality, just remember, 90% of that other time, he's not. So let's just keep this in perspective here.
But Tom, even a broken clock is correct, twice out of the day. So, I mean, if we have to give credit where credit is due, so
okay,
that
all right, I'm trying to.
At least they see, if more people are like showing Fox News, hey, the batshit crazy needs to die down, and we'll start watching you, then that'll help. I mean, Shepard Smith doing what he did as far as a business aspect is going to appeal to people that are of like my generation, the millennials, where we're going to look at that and be like, oh, okay, well, he's not entirely, out of his mind. So maybe I'll watch just Shepard Smith's show, or maybe I'll check out Chris Wallace on Sunday, maybe check him out on YouTube or something like that. So, at a strategy, it's a smart thing to do to show that they're not all insane.
Sure, of course. No, as a strategy, yes. But overall, from us, it's kind of, I don't know, yay, Shep. Okay.
It's being fair, giving props where props are due, especially when we spend the lion's share of our time on this show, especially criticizing Fox News.
Okay, I got the best. Shut up, Tom. I got the best point ever. I apologize for that. But we missed the most. I want to point out the most important part of what Shepard Smith said in his whole speech. And this is why, as somebody who's been monitoring the news and how they cover Ebola, I say Fox has actually done a little better in certain aspects of it. He said the panic that is causing the stock market to fall. Like, Fox News, all in all, fear-mongering aside, they're about the money. And I give Shepard Smith credit because in a lot of things he is reasonable, and the bus thing, totally reasonable. Double-decker buses and bicyclists don't belong in New York. But in this particular case, it's about the money, and the smarter, more business-savvy Fox News hosts have been toning down the rhetoric because of the stock market.
No, fair enough, and you can tell me to shut up anytime, but you gotta bit me or spank me after you do it, if you're going to do it. I mean, to be fair. But no, I actually agree with you on it, because they're watching the money angle of it die because of the panic, and it's like, okay, so our gravy train is like getting derailed here. We need to pull this back a notch. So I totally see your point, but again, let's, as much as we give him credit, let's remind the audience that this guy is on the network, that diversity is not common practice on this network, and he's not allowed to bring his partner to a party, rumored anyway. So let's just be fair when we're talking about it all around here, is all I'm saying.
I think fair is giving credit where credit is due and giving criticism where criticism is due. And like I said, I think we certainly do that. Move on?
I'll allow it.
Thank you, Haven. Appreciate it. We're going to go to something a bit more interesting. ENN's Crossfire has once again met its timely demise. This time, around 10 years after the fateful episode involving comedian and host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart. I want to go back in time here with everyone and relive some of those magical moments from 10 years ago.
Can I say something very quickly? Why do we have to fight? The two of you? Can't we just say something nice about John Kerry right now?
I like John. I care about John Kerry.
And something about President Bush.
He'll be unemployed soon.
I failed it.
I made the effort anyway.
Why do you argue? The two of you? I hate to see it.
We enjoy it.
Let me ask you a question. I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have, privately, amongst my friends, and also in occasional newspapers and television shows, mentioned this show as being bad. And I felt that wasn't fair, and I should come here and tell you that it's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America. So I wanted to come here today and say,
wait.
Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America.
Okay, now.
And come work for us, because we, as the people.
How do you pay?
The people, not well.
Better than CNN, I'm sure.
But you can sleep at night. See, the thing is, we need your help. Right now you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
Just we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You are part of their strategies. You're partisan, hacks. The interesting thing that I have is you have a responsibility to the public discourse, and you fail miserably.
School, I think.
You need to go to one. The thing that I want to say is, when you have people on for just knee-jerk, reactionary talk.
Wait, I thought you were going to be funny. Come on, be funny.
No, I'm not going to be your monkey. Go ahead. I watch your show every day, and it kills me.
I can tell you love it.
It's so painful to watch. Because we need what you do. This is such a great opportunity you have here to actually get politicians off of their marketing and strategy. Yeah, it's someone who watches your show and cannot take it anymore. I just can't.
What's it like to have dinner with you? It must be excruciating. Do you lecture people like this, or do you come over to their house and sit and lecture them, and they're not doing the right thing, that they're missing their opportunities, evading their responsibilities?
If I think they are.
Look, I wouldn't want to eat with you, man. That's horrible.
I know, and you won't. But the thing I want to get to.
We did promise naked pictures this
Yeah, we did. Let's get to those.
Why can't we just talk? Please, I beg of you guys.
I think you watch too much Crossfire. We're going to take a quick break.
No. Look,
no, hold on.
Please.
We've got commercials.
Please.
Next,
Please stop.
Magical moments. Love it. So, now what's interesting about this decision is that just like the Crossfire back then in the day, all the show was, and had ever been, was just a place where people could shout talking points at each other. We have a place like that now that can do that a lot better. It's called Facebook. Anyway, I'm going to get your guys' thoughts on CNN canning Crossfire and whether or not you agree with the premise that shows like these hurt America. Tom?
Yes and no. I'm going to be a little bit of a dick about it. Yes, they do hurt America to the point where people become disengaged and don't want to deal with the thing. And yes, they're good for it because, like, if you get Jon Stewart on Crossfire, people might actually engage in a meaningful debate about what's wrong with things. And that's where it can be a good thing. As far as this round of Crossfire getting fired, ironically enough, it just sucked. There was a couple of good shows that I could even point to. One of them, I think every time Newt Gingrich was on, where he got his panties in a twist. That was always fun to watch. And one where they actually invited a liberal on named Tom Hartman, who usually isn't allowed anywhere in the mainstream media. So when they did stuff like that, it was really worth watching, but they didn't do enough of that, and it didn't open up a good conversation, and so it fell flat badly.
First, I just want to point out that there's like an old saying, and that clip is a perfect example of it, the Jon Stewart clip that you showed, that is, conservatives believe and liberals lie. You saw Tucker Carlson like fighting to defend his position on Crossfire because he was so hurt, and the other guy wasn't saying anything. So like that's just a funny thing I wanted to point out. Also, looks like Crossfire was in Jon Stewart's crosshairs. Hilarious.
Wow, that was terrible.
But
that crossed the line, sir.
The point about hurting America, I think that gets like super exaggerated. Like it hurts the like 1,000, 100,000, whatever their ratings were that actually watched the show. Like it's not
people watch that show.
Well, yeah, whatever. It's not good, and I'm like a news junkie, and I watch clips all the time, and I watch news, and I go on YouTube channels that like put together clips from other news organizations, and I can't remember one Crossfire clip that I've ever watched outside of doing this show and watching the Young Turks, and even that is super rare. Like it's very uninteresting, and if anything, it hurts America because people watch it and they actually die watching it from boredom.
Well, I think the one thing that was missing from this Crossfire is, I mean, the elephant in the room is that it didn't have a bow tie. And you can't fight a bow tie. You know what I'm saying? Also, I think it's interesting that I don't think CNN understands just yet that people are sick and tired of watching grown people yell over each other. Like, we're fatigued. We are pundit battle fatigued. We don't want to see that. We're not interested in it. I mean, there are S.E. Cupp does very interesting interviews. She's a very intelligent woman. Van Jones is a very intelligent man, but nobody wants to see those two people argue. No matter how sexy Van Jones' bald head is, no matter how sexy S.E. Cupp is that night, nobody gives a shit because nobody wants to even be bothered with stressing themselves out for that. So that's, I mean, the Crossfire was basically them living in 2005 for the past year and a half, and it's just never worked out.
Also, random point, S.E. Cupp and Van Jones both made famous by Glenn Beck. So, that's a weird, weird dichotomy there.
That's a good thing to point out. But yeah, no, you're right. Nobody wants to see people yelling at each other, you know, in the Crossfire, like, because nothing gets done. People are sick of just watching people. If they want to do that, then they should, you know, go on to C-SPAN, because that's pretty much all it is Congress yelling at each other and not getting anything done. Americans, I think, more or less want solutions. They actually want our politicians and people to do things. And shows like Crossfire, they didn't actually achieve anything. They weren't really looking at solutions. They were looking at how can we, you know, shout, like, let's get together and shout talking points at each other, and that's it. Like, I don't understand how CNN thought that could be a winning formula.
Well, CNN has been picking the wrong horse for about the past 10 years now. Everybody, the people that should stay, like Soledad O'Brien, they get rid of. And then the people that they probably shouldn't even put on in the first place, they make a whole show for, like Crossfire. It doesn't make any sense.
Or they continue to give Wolf Blitzer more spots.
No, I agree with Sean's point. More Wolf Blitzer. We need more of Snoozer. And we could all have nap time, and we could be like Mexico, have a little siesta midday. We'll all feel better. We won't worry so much, and there's a solution.
We also got to remember who the actual audience of Crossfire is, or who pays for Crossfire. It's news advertisers, most of the time prescription drug companies. So they're designing a show to literally drive you insane so that you buy the pills that they advertise in the breaks.
And they weren't even doing a very good job of it this time around. I mean, look who they put on for the Newt Gingrich was the best guy they could find. And to Haven's point, she's exactly right. Tucker Carlson, there was no bow tie, dude. And as Cenk has said on the live show, he's the court jester. You gotta have a court jester. If you don't have some butts running around and you like, you know, wavy things, shiny objects, Sean, you're not going to have any value to the show. Sorry, Sean, threw you under the bus, man.
So does everybody agree, though, that Crossfire was a terrible show?
Yes, I agree.
Affirmative.
I can't really say because I never watched it. So
There you go.
I second that, but still affirmative.
There's just no place for Crossfire, and you know, I did a show, I believe it was yesterday, that talked about the 3 cable networks, and it was basically O'Reilly saying that we need to just unplug MSNBC and, you know, pull the plug, start over. Well, I made the argument that sure, let's do that, and then we'll do CNN and Fox at the same time. Pull the plug, start them all over as actual news networks. That would be nice. Leave the commentary to us. How about that? Anyway, we'll go to the next story. By the way, everybody watching, make sure to like the video if you can. Hit the like button for us, or and of course leave comments. We always appreciate that. Speaking of partisanship hurting America, there's a study just recently released and reported to NPR that confirms that yes, the most divisive aspect of contemporary society is our politics. Now, these findings were co-written by Shanto Iyengar, who is a political scientist at Stanford University, and Sean Westwood of Princeton University. Now, they wrote, quote, unlike race, gender, and other social divides where group-related attitudes and behaviors are constrained by social norms, there are no corresponding pressures to temper disapproval of political opponents. In fact, political hostility toward the opposition is acceptable, even appropriate. Partisans therefore feel free to express animus and engage in discriminatory behavior towards opposing partisans. Now that makes sense, right? I mean, we can see the results of this on a daily basis in our media and our interactions with each other on social media. If you've ever dropped by a conservative page, or if a conservative dropped by a liberal page, you would know exactly what these two gentlemen are talking about. So already, I want to get your opinions on this before I get into more information. Haven?
Well, I find this study is rather interesting because it reminded me of this Bill Maher episode with Alexandra Wentworth. She grew up in Washington, and one of the things that she was trying to point out was the fact that there's this shift that's happening in that city where there's more vitriol there, and I think that spreads out. You know, including the story that we just did previously. You know, there's this stage that's being set where political opponents are no longer people that disagree and then, you know, have dinner together or go to a movie together. These are people who are, you know, hardened enemies. These are people that very much hate each other now, and
like
that's
they're destroying America.
Exactly, and it's, to me, I don't really see any facet where we as citizens are trying to, you know, stop being so emotional, stop being so hyperbolic and crazy about our points, and just be rational human beings and have a conversation. I don't really. More and more of us are trying to live in neighborhoods where the people that we don't like or don't think we'll like don't even live with us. And you can really start seeing the divide even with this race that's going on right now. You know, the gerrymandering is really showing just how juxtaposed we are to each other, and how much we're willing to fight to the death for something that we probably shouldn't even be fighting to the death for in the first place.
Yeah, I totally agree with Haven. I mean, I try to get on this like liberal show, and as a libertarian, and they won't even let me on. They won't even let me have a conversation. So Jeff, if you're out there, what's up, man? Just let me on the. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna take a contrary position to this survey. Maybe it's mostly based on an anecdote, and by an anecdote I mean myself. Like, I don't really care about people's individual politics, and most of the people I know don't like know anything, like don't know a lot, or more accurate, and they definitely don't ask other people what their opinions are. Like, I take a bunch of like political classes, and there's people who don't know like what Brown versus Board of Education is. How many Supreme Court justices are there? What are the two parties in power? These are college classes. So like, I don't see that politics really dividing everything, and I get that's a school setting where people are meant to associate with each other and all that. But like, I don't know. Maybe because I don't live in like I live in like a theoretically mixed area. Like, it's a metropolitan area, the most major metropolitan area, by the way. So like, I just don't experience that in my day-to-day lives, and there's much more reasons to hate people than politics. Like, if you're wearing a uniform that says police, apparently you hate all minorities. So like, there are plenty of like reasons beyond politics to hate each other. We just have to work hard to find those other reasons to hate each other. And about the government being more divisive, I think that's a good thing. Like, the government they've been working together too well to screw us over in the past, and a little bit of, throwing a little sand on that, I think is totally awesome.
But Sean, it doesn't throw sand on that. That's them fucking us with corporations is probably the only time you'll ever see a Republican and a Democrat agree. So it doesn't really help us. It distracts us so that they can continue to shove that dick up our ass when we get through another economic downturn and bubble. So it's like, I personally don't see the value in being so decisive, because now is not a time for decisive measures and vitriolic speech. Now we're facing things where we need to be cooperative. You know what I'm saying? Like, global warming and the sea level rise doesn't give two shits whether or not you are a Republican, Libertarian, or Democrat. If you live in a coastal area, it's going to flood your home no matter what you are. So it's like,
let me build on that.
But
let me build on that with more of the research before we go on. It says, according to the research, political partisanship influenced decisions and behavior not only inside the voting booth but outside it as well. Partisanship is a political and social divide. It's also been a key indicator of interpersonal relations. For example, there's a greater tendency by parents these days to raise objections to a son and daughter marrying someone who supports the opposing political party. And it also says in the summary, while Republicans view fellow partisans as patriotic, well-informed, and altruistic, Democrats are judged to exhibit precisely the opposite traits. And that's really what you were talking about right there, Haven, is we've got this divide where you think that these people think that because you're a part of the other side, you are the enemy. And that's a problem when you want to govern together in a divided government. But
the thing I want to point out is we've had the bad bipartisanship for years, and right now we have like the really, the so-called super polarized system. But like, out of that, you're seeing issue-based coalitions like Cory Booker and Rand Paul teaming up on reducing mandatory minimums, Justin Amash and a lot of progressives teaming up on the NSA. Like, even when the establishment is like fighting each other hard, like, to me that's a great thing, even though they still go hand in hand to screw us over in the end. But like, that causes more renegades in both parties. So in the national level, that's a great thing. And the fact that the people like see each other as like weird features, like see people who vote Democrat as bad people and vice versa. If they're a Democrat, they see Republicans as bad people. They're just like, that's just dumb. Like, I will date anybody with any political view I want, except if they're pro-life, because accidents happen.
Well, my thing is, it's like, So what if, I mean, I kind of have like a really hard time agreeing with what you just said, so I'm trying to like hold it back and be respectful. It is not.
Don't, Sean.
It is not good for them to be fighting like this. Sure, it gets renegades, but there are not enough renegades to run a Senate. There are not enough renegades to run the House of Representatives. So it really doesn't do shit. You know, you have renegades who can flower us with 15 minutes of this nice bill that's going to get watered down, pissed on, used as some kind of battle cry to do the exact opposite that we want to do. I mean, the renegades are rendered useless. And that's because of how evil they see each other now. And nobody's going to do anything. Compromise is the most important thing that we need in our government right now. The ability.
And right now, they vote too much for the person who goes along with that rhetoric and says, "Well, this side is evil. Vote for me. I will oppose him at every turn." But Tom.
Can I make a point? A case for extremism, real quick. Can I be on the total opposite end of the spectrum here?
You gonna play devil's advocate?
No, I'm totally for extremism. As a socialist Democrat, I am for extremism. Ted Cruz's extremism and my extremism. Why? Because if you have people who believe in the middle, our two guys, like Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz, should push to the middle to get something of what we want. Not so somebody's fucked over, usually that's what does happen in politics, but if you could get two guys, total polar opposites, pushing for the extreme, that will force the moderates, so-called, and the people of the party, elites, so-called, to come together to make a grand bargain, so to speak. That's how we should be coming from this. Now, extremists are bad. No, hail the extremists, because with that, it's like shoving, pushing a child out in labor. You have to have that type of extremism, otherwise nothing will get done. Look at the shutdown. Let's take the shutdown for an example. Cruz did it, shut it down, and then made everybody come to realize that's so bad we don't want to have it again. So we're going to do an 11-hour agreement. So they were forced to actually agree on a budget. Now, without Ted Cruz doing that stupid-ass thing in the stupid-ass way, we wouldn't have that. So I'm sorry. You could say, he's bad and his views suck, and that's all fair and good. But I'm happy for the likes of Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz, because otherwise nothing really would get done. And all we would get is screwed.
Oh, well, okay, I'll have to push back on that. They didn't exactly agree because it was a good idea. Ted Cruz was embarrassed, and the rest of the party turned on him. You ask Cruz today, he'd be like, shutdown is a great idea.
Well, no, I'm not saying for the reasons that he did it were good or just. I'm just saying that extremism can force people who will not do something with the other side to do it, to shut the extremist up, or to give them what they want, whether it's good or bad. And that's why there are good cases for them. Now, on my side, I love Bernie Sanders. And I could say probably, well, maybe not Sean, but everybody here probably loves Bernie Sanders, not so much Ted Cruz. He's considered an extremist, far-left extremist by the right. Like worse than Obama, picture it. So the case can be made for Ted Cruz coming on not on our side, but you know what I mean. Where a good case can be made for that, to get a consensus where this party bickering never ends, and that's the only case I'm making for extremism.
Well, I mean, as a veteran, I will say from the bottom of my heart, I don't appreciate Ted Cruz and his bullshit extremism, because every time he wants to shut down the government for shits and giggles, people like me who are dependent on like their post 9/11 to come through, or maybe their paycheck if they're active duty, we get screwed over. People who work for the government get screwed. I'm not for anybody who is willing to do a grandstanding gesture in order to rally up his base. So it's like, and I don't really, I don't really care for Bernie Sanders either, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense to have one crazy side and then the other crazy side, and then somehow we're gonna go to the middle. That's not how life works. Sometimes.
We also got, if you can look at what happened too, we got a shitty deal out of it too. So it's not like
I know we did, and I'm not defending. Please don't.
The shutdown was a great.
I'm not defending.
Idea. It wasn't. It was terrible.
I'm not. It was shit. It was, the whole thing was shit. Please don't think I'm defending it. Maybe I'm saying it in the wrong ass way, the way he did the wrong ass thing for it. But what I'm saying is, when these morons won't get off their ass and do something, sometimes it takes a little extremism, like Occupy, like movements like that, to force the issue. And that can be a good thing if it gets something good and gets a good deal. 9 times out of 10, it's the crap deal. But that's politics. And until we get Wolfpack or something else to change that we have to, like, deal with the reality of it. And that's, I come to accept the extremists, personally.
Well, we can all agree on one thing. In order to stop a lot of this extremism, you got to get the money out of politics.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think we can all agree on that. Is it safe to say?
Extremists are weirdos. They'll exist.
What's that?
I said weirdos don't need money. They're just weird.
The weirdos are the tools for the regular rich people who just want distractions. So more money out of politics means less power the Koch brothers and whoever the hell else is bankrolling these crazy people have over us.
There you go. All right. We go on from partisan politics to Jimmy John's. Interesting. The sandwich business is apparently quite brutal. At least it is for the worker. Recently obtained employment agreements for sandwich maker Jimmy John's have an odd clause in it. That clause has been added to a class action lawsuit against the company for having supposed anti-worker policies. Now remember, they were recently getting in trouble for wage theft as well. So what's in this clause? It's a non-compete clause for a sandwich maker. Let me read it. Quote, employee covenants and agrees that during his or her employment with the employer and for a period of 2 years after, he or she will not have any direct or indirect interest or perform services for any business which derives more than 10% of its revenue from selling submarine, hero-type, deli-style, pita and or wrapped or rolled sandwiches, and which is located within 3 miles of either the Jimmy John's location in question or any such other Jimmy John's sandwich shop. So wait, you have a non-competition clause for making shitty sandwiches. What in the world? Look, I know there are companies out there that do have these clauses, and that's fine. But they're usually for, I don't know, somebody who has a higher skill set, I should say, or somebody working in a higher skill set field. Not low-wage food service. To me, I think it's kind of crazy and absurd. I mean, if you want to make an argument that, well, they signed it voluntarily, I don't really buy that because, I mean, yeah, you did sign it, but you normally don't work in food service if you have better options that are available. Normally. And with many people needing second jobs to make ends meet, that sort of limits your options on what places you can work at while working at this Jimmy John's. And especially after you stop working for them for a period of 2 years. It just seems crazy to me. You guys agree or disagree Haven?
I completely disagree with this policy simply because it's you're making fucking sandwiches. So are you in trouble if like you help your daughter out with like a school fundraiser and you're making mini subs there and you're making money off of that? Is that going to be an issue? Like the skill set is not high enough to do a non-compete clause, and who would be the asshole that would leave Jimmy John's and go to Subway and be like, hey, I got the secret technique of how to do this rap, don't let anybody know this is some insider trading type shit. Like it's asinine, and it's another way that we're seeing these fast food companies try to dictate the lives of their workers.
I don't have a huge problem with it. Like, it's weird. Let me just say, first of all, it's totally weird, and it's stupid, and it's unnecessary. Like, I mean, I know somebody who worked at Jimmy John's who actually was affected by this policy, and they actually were arrested because they called me to leak the secret information about Jimmy John's sandwiches, which is so crucial that it must be protected by non-disclosure agreements, obviously.
I knew you were that asshole.
I'm totally kidding about that. But the thing that they don't want you to share is that if you have bread and then cheese on both sides of it, because cheese is square, it's like having two breads, and it's so overcomplicated and convoluted that you can only learn it there. All right, but to get to like the substantive point of this, it's like weird, but like there's no like illegality there. I think the only issue is what constitutes a sandwich. Because if a hot dog's a sandwich and you go to work at a hot dog cart, then what do? Is a burger a sandwich, or is it just a burger? So like you get into some ambiguity there. But other than that, it's a non-compete clause. It's weird that it's for a low-wage job. It's not overly like invasive unless you live in a place where there's Jimmy John's everywhere, which I don't. And obviously Jimmy John's pays you so much that you can move from wherever you are to New York City where there's not a lot of Jimmy John's and open up your own sandwich place, which is what they're so worried about.
Jeff, can I add something to this? I didn't know this.
It's your turn.
I didn't know anything about Jimmy John's until the story tonight. I was Jimmy John's free. So I want to know less now. I'm just saying. I just wanted to add that, and anybody else, I don't know. And Sean would be that asshole.
He would. Well, I have a Jimmy John's that's right down the street, so it's like I don't know what else this non-compete clause covers. Like a lot of these guys in my area, they ride bikes. So to deliver. So if they're riding their bike for Pizza Hut, does that count as a non-compete cause? And you can't do that. I mean, maybe how you pedal is this special way that gets you to your destination in less than 15 minutes. Who knows? Like
if that delivery place, if say Pizza Hut decides they want to make a pita, like a pita pizza or something like that, or a wrap, you can't work for them.
Yeah, you can't make the meatball subs there. Even though, like, can you really call anything from Pizza Hut a sandwich? Like, let's keep that real. But to get to my substantive point, like a non-compete agreement isn't illegal or anything, and they do sign it voluntary, despite what Jeff says. And it's weird that it's in a fast food place, but in Jimmy John's defense, this is a Republican attempt to appeal to women voters. Because if you work at Jimmy John's, then you never have to make your man a sandwich again. So, like, this is the Republican way of another failed way, but it is a Republican attempt to appeal to women voters. It was actually in their autopsy.
And I say, bitch, go back and make some cookies. I mean, I'm just saying, I had to. Sorry.
It's just a weird thing that that they're doing. You're right that it's not illegal, but it is a dick move by saying that you can't, like, you get fired from Jimmy John's, you can't get a job at Subway down the street. You're barred from getting a job at Subway for 2 years. It just seems kind of fucked up. Like it has the effect of limiting people's options when it comes to getting a job. Say they didn't like working at Jimmy John's. Well, if they're stuck working at Jimmy John's because they can't go anywhere else, it's ridiculous. At least I think it's ridiculous.
Jeff, I just thought of a conspiracy that Sean didn't think of, and he needs bad points for that. This is another way for Jimmy John's to keep the employment numbers high for Obama administration while he's president, and I bet they'll take away this non-compete clause right after he's done. And thanks, Obama. There you go.
Fucking Obama, man.
And it all comes back to Obamacare and how it spreads Ebola.
We should start calling him Obola. President Obola.
Michael Savage already beat you to it. He did that the other day on Newsmax.
Oh, damn it. Damn it. Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to move on then. We're going to have a little bit of fun with the last couple of stories, so don't take these too seriously. We're just going to have some fun with it. How bad is it in the world today? Bad? Really bad? Slightly kind of bad? Or just meh? Well, that's the question the pollsters over at Fox News wanted to ask their audience. And ask they did. They asked, hold on. I've got some poll numbers on a graphic. I'm going to bring that up. How are things going in the world today? To hell in a handbasket. Yes, 58% of Americans say that they think the things in the world are going to hell in a handbasket. That was the question. 58% said absolutely. Now, it's pretty obvious that they were having a little bit of fun with this over there with the wording, and hey, why not, right? You can have fun. So then they asked why the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and you get some of the responses here from the Fox News audience. "50% of people say ISIS is a greater threat to the United States, to the citizens of the United States. 27% say Ebola, and 18% are convinced ISIS fighters infected with Ebola are coming over the border as we speak." So now I have to ask you on the panel here, what do you think about this? What do you think about how bad it is in the world today? Is everything going to hell in a handbasket, or will everything be all right, and why?
Well, I just want to point out that this is a particularly confusing poll for a Fox News audience because things going to hell in a handbasket and being all right is actually the same answer. Because we all know they're just waiting for the apocalypse to rewrite the whole world. So basically, this poll, those answers could have just been one answer, and it would have been fine. So I don't know what to read in it.
I'll go next, if that's okay.
Yep, go ahead.
And I got a little delay, so I apologize if that's screwing anything up. But basically, this is like Fox News, and again, Obama, come on, he's president. Of course it's going in the hell in a handbasket. Of course. Everything, Obama, thanks Obama. Ebola, thanks Obama. Shep Smith being nice on Fox News, thanks Obama. Come on. Of course.
This is such an old fart question. It's ridiculous. And it's such an old fart response. It's like, oh yeah, of course, in my day, nothing bad happened. We just threw bombs at people. So it's like no. Everything is happening the same way it's always been happening. There's fucked up things going on. A bunch of people are dying every day. And we are lazy and not really trying to do anything about it until it's going to really fuck up the fact that we can't get the iPhone 7. So it's like, yeah, things are tough. Things are bad, but what I've noticed is that this kind of answer is a disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation. When you see what, millennials are doing, they don't have this nihilistic, pessimistic view of what's going on. Like, they acknowledge, yeah, there's some shit going down, but it's not like, oh, it's going to hell in a handbasket, I can't do anything about it. It's like, okay, there's shit going down. What can I do to address it? How can I work either around the system, through the system, or change the system to address the issues that I'm worried about? So I think this is telling of the Fox audience that they are feeling utterly hopeless, and they're probably waiting for their pacemaker to crap out on them anytime soon.
Crack out
hopeless because we have a black president, of course. If a Republican were in charge, nothing would actually change, but they'd be feeling a lot more hopeful.
And their pacemakers will shut down because of an ISIS EMP. But what I learned from this particular poll is that 18% of Fox News viewers also watch CNN, because the only conspiracy theory not attributable to Fox that is attributable to CNN is that ISIS and Ebola are the same thing. That was the both number in that poll. And if you can remember, they definitely are going to start infecting themselves and going in and spreading it, because that's how Ebola works.
Now, what I want to know is, Jeff, how did they ask the Q-tips, is everything going to be all right? Did they have the pollster ask, is everything going to be all right? Or was it going to be in like a little slang to throw the Q-tips off? Like, everything going to be all right? Kind of just put that whole thing in there, because they're Q-tips, and they'd be like, no, hell in a handbasket. There was that, too. And, Sean, you missed that element. I'm blaming you. I'm catching a lot tonight that you're missing.
Well, the most important question is a handbasket really the most efficient way to travel to hell? Wouldn't it be more effective to take an electric car?
Well, no, Jesus.
I personally prefer gasoline drawers. I think that's really fun, but that's just me, personally.
What? Not electric?
No, because that's for communists.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be Fox News viewers.
No, they need to, the best way to travel to hell is rolling coal as you go down the highway. The highway.
Clean coal. Clean coal.
Except the reason you're going to hell is because you're taking Teslas there, and they can't get up that highway because they're Teslas, and so now you have traffic to the hell.
I think we're gonna have fun with this. And we
oh my God, I'm in hell.
All right, I think it's time to move on to our last story of the night. We're gonna be talking a bit about Freedom Book. Freedom. Yes, it's back. The Facebook for Patriots has returned. Yes, it's the second coming of Reagan Book, and it's finally arrived. At least partly. Now this time, ironically taking the name of Freedom Book. Because, no one saw that one coming. Really? Freedom Book, guys? Freedom? Now, some of you might be asking, what the hell was Reagan Book? Well, Reagan Book was created in July as the, quote, Facebook for Patriots, and vowed to make a place where people with unpopular opinions can't be censored. I have unpopular opinions, and I want to spread them around. God damn it. Another irony about this, though, is that it is invite only. So much for freedom. But I suppose there can be an argument for why that is, because back when it launched originally as Reagan Book, it was flooded with hilariously named troll accounts such as Ben Ghazi, Alzheimer's, and Ronald Reagan's titties. Not do that without laughing. As funny as that all is, it's kind of telling how much people want to actually isolate themselves from the other side of the political spectrum because of disagreements. It's wanting to create an echo chamber of their own, free from Facebook's persecution. Now, I want to point out that liberal pages, especially troll pages, get taken down all the time on Facebook. In fact, some of my favorites get taken down all the time and posted back up. So it's kind of like the IRS thing a little bit here. Kind of like a parallel to that. Both liberal and conservative groups, if you can remember, were targeted by the IRS And it's sort of the same thing with these pages. Both liberal and conservative pages get taken down all the fucking time. And to be honest, I don't have an issue with Facebook doing that, especially if they're taking down a page titled Barack Obama Must Die. Now, not that that isn't atrocious, but it also isn't a violation of free speech, as they would claim. Remember, free speech is basically protecting you from the government coming after you for saying something against the government. As far as I know, Facebook, at least right now, Zuckerberg won't send troops to your door. They'll just shut down your Facebook page. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this, guys? Reagan book. Freedom.
I think this is another bastion for old farts. I don't know. I mean, I find it funny that they're screening people to join this so that they can find the real Reaganites and just have like a spot where they can just infest each other with more and more craziness. To separate yourself away from the discussion so that you can, you know, only hear what you think is right and never have any dissenting opinions and all that stuff. It does a disservice to those people, but apparently, you know, they don't give a shit, so I'm going to try not to give a shit myself.
If I may, Jeff, this is a case, again, of the conservatives not knowing the meaning of the definition of the word freedom. You do not need an invite to freedom. Can I just point that out? I know you did, but let's be clear on this. If you have freedom, you do not need an invitation to it. If you have Reagan's titties up, you know what you do? You administer the web page, you lazy bastard. It's really simple. You do some work, you get off baking cookies, and you administer the web page. Really simple. If Glenn Beck can do it on the Blaze crappily, you can too. Just saying.
Okay, so obviously I hate Facebook's policy, like their anti-bullying policy. I don't like it. Like that Barack Obama page was obviously a parody of the movie John Tucker Must Die. But no, in like all seriousness, I don't like it. And there is a good argument about the culture of free speech, like the culturally, not governmentally, like how we treat speech we don't like in this country. That being said, let's talk about how dumb Freedom Book is. The whole point of having your stupid Facebook pages on Facebook is so that you can invite people who disagree with you to look at your dumb shit so that maybe they will start following your dumb shit. If you create a website to be just like Facebook, except you're only going to invite people who already agree with you, then why do you need to make Freedom Book-like pages to invite people to your shit when they already agree? Like, the whole point of it is you want to convince people. This makes no sense. Like, it literally is the dumbest idea ever. Like, you're...
But
also, the fact that you can create private communities as well. In order to do the same
that's not freedom.
That's fine. Private communities are a part of freedom. Like, that's freedom of association. But it's dumb. It's dumb because you're trying to... The whole point of the stupid Facebook-like pages, why I keep being sent them and why I click ignore, is people are trying to convince me of dumb shit. Like, you can't convince people of dumb shit that already believe you're dumb shit. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, they are upset because their pages get shut down on Facebook, which is an open forum. So now they want to make a closed forum where everybody already agrees with them so they can make pages that everybody already agrees with on the forum. It's stupid.
You're missing the point. The purpose is to do a circle jerk. And you can't do a circle jerk if you have a missing link. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they want a spot where they can say...
Somebody's crack blocking you, there's no circle jerk.
Exactly. Everybody has to be down for the circle jerk. If you don't have it, there's no circle. It's like, who's going to jerk you? You know what I'm saying? So it's like they want a spot where they're not getting contested. They want a spot where, oh, yeah, I am right. Like, you know, it's the same reason why people only go to a specific source when they want to cite something so that they can just feel right. So, I mean, in that sense, I don't mind that. If you want to go out there and be as ignorant as you want to be and just completely isolate yourself, if that's your prerogative, by all means. but don't delude yourself into thinking that you're having some kind of intellectual battle and really getting deep. And in all honesty, in the future, I can see this completely imploding because you're going to have somebody that says you're not extreme enough, or what you just said is wrong, or maybe somebody's going to have a bout of rationality, and then they're going to totally get ostracized.
Rationality.
Well, also, like, what Haven said is true because it's already happened. There have been many attempts to create these, Facebook alternatives for just one ideological side. It all happens to be conservatives, right? They've had like 4 or 5 attempts at this, and each one of them failed horribly, miserably. And unfortunately, I can't remember the names on those, but.
Yeah, but it's still. But the idea is dumb. Like, for the problem that they're claiming that they're trying to solve, it doesn't make any sense. And it's not like a dating site where you can create a J-date or a Christian mingle, or my favorite and the one that I personally use, farmersonly.com, to zone out people that you would want to date. Like, that doesn't work in this. Like,
wait, what, only.com? Sean, what, only.com?
Farmers Only. You don't have to be lonely with Farmers Only. Best commercials of all time. But yeah, like, their overall objective is to convince people of their values, right? And if this was a liberal group or a conservative group, it didn't. If this was a libertarian group that I agreed with in their principles, like, this tactic literally makes no sense. Like, it is so stupid, and I just need to point that out over and over again.
But Sean, you don't understand, man. They're being persecuted. They need to go. They have to have where people love them and give them enough kisses and hugs and want to hold them tight against their breasts. No, I said breasts. No breasts. They're banned. Sorry. End of argument. I dropped the mic on it. Go on. Yeah, exactly. Ronald Reagan's titties.
All thread is just end all arguments right there. Your argument's invalid. Ronald Reagan's titties.
Ronald Reagan and freedom.
And titties. All right. Looks like that's all we have for today for you, for stories that we've prepared. We'll be back tomorrow night with another great panel with another collection of fascinating stories from around the web here on TYT Community. We're going to present them and have an excellent discussion on it as we did tonight. I want to thank my panelists for showing up tonight. Tom with Ebola, Sean, and Haven, thank you all for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. See, they can't actually see you when you nod in approval, though.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to be interrupted. I'm trying to be a good boy today.
I do want to interrupt, but not when you give me an opening, when you're not ready for it. So I'll just nod.
Right. Just smile and nod.
Well, I'm happy.
Jeff, Jeff, if they want to take questions, I'm happy to do some questions like, why do I have Ebola or anything like that, because I know it's Thursday. I know I can do it, but till about 10 o'clock unless you don't want to.
Does anybody want to know why Tom has Ebola? In the comments? I gotta wait for the stream to catch up. Hold on. So for people to ask, what works out better is being able to check comments on Twitter. If you tweet me at Jeff's Politics or at TYT Community, I actually get it faster. But then I have to wait for you to see the comment, or I have to wait for you to see what I said, and then I have to wait for you to type a comment, and efficiency and all that, because we're doing it live here.
Okay, I got a point for militant anti-theist. My last name isn't. My name isn't Sean. Middle name Fitz, and then last name Gerald. For the record, I'm just saying.
That was it? I thought you were going to address the point that he made.
No, that was in his comment. It was just like the most. I don't even remember what he said. Something about $200 and how he should send it to me, I think.
Back to militant anti-theist. No, Tom has a penis. I mean, I haven't seen it, but he assures me that he has a penis.
Yes, I have a penis, damn it. I have a B cup and a penis, but I can assure you I have a penis.
So there you go.
That's insane because I have like 7 penises as well, but they're like tucked away, all nice and neat.
Mine are not tucked.
I may be legitimately scared at this point. I'm just saying. Don't fuck with that woman. She'll cut you. She'll cut a bitch. All right. Is there any questions though? Because I don't. Not sure if I see anything.
No, there's just geniuses trolling me. Like somebody said, Sam Harris owns me. So apparently they know I'll respond to random comments in there. Let me just get who that is because it's really important that I get a handle on it. Xander Cruz. And yes, you're right.
I actually got one for you guys since nobody seems to have one. This was asked on my We've been doing this on my show, and it was asked by somebody. Who would be your Frankenstein president from all the living and dead presidents? Like, if you would combine a president, who would that be for you, for all three of you? Like, who would be your best combination?
Sewing a pair of boobs onto Ronald Reagan.
Who would I combine?
Who would, I guess, what traits from all the different presidents would you combine into make one Franken president?
Yeah, it's not that hard. I mean, you could always, Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan if you want, but, I mean, if you wanted Nixon and Carter together, or for whatever godforsaken reason, or who would you combine? Positive or negative traits? I don't care at this point.
I would combine Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and John F. Kennedy. Do I need to explain why? Or should I just leave it at that?
That would be helpful, but this is you, so...
So all of them were anti-central banking, which is awesome. Number 2 is that Jefferson and Jackson lived in a very long racist time ago, so it would be weird for me to combine 2 racist people without adding in a third one to like get rid of that. And number 3, Thomas Jefferson says a lot of nice things about liberty, and Andrew Jackson won a battle in a war that was over, which, since we don't win anything anymore, I just thought that was cool.
All right, so there's a question for Haven actually. She says, I agree with the way you describe Reagan Book's hopes for the network. Do you apply the same level of criticism for left-wing networks like Tumblr?
As far as Tumblr is concerned, I don't do anything on there except for look up Korasami and a bunch of lesbian things. So I haven't really experienced how left-wing Tumblr can be. I'm all for lesbian things on Tumblr, so I will never disown that. But if I were to experience that, where they were just a microcosm of just everybody nodding their head and saying, yes, 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 you're right, I just naturally have a knee-jerk reaction to that. I don't appreciate that. I like being around people who tell me that I'm wrong from time to time because I'm not right all the time, and I don't want to be right all the time because, it negates being able to learn anything about the world.
Follow-up question. You need to tell us about those lesbian things. And also, did you, like me, when you heard the name Tumblr, think of the Batmobile first?
I think the lesbian things are too awesome for you, Sean, and I don't want to hurt you while you're in that blazer because it is awesome. And as far as the Tumblr thing in Batman, no, I didn't catch that. I would instantly thought about Korasami and lesbian stuff, which is why it's so awesome.
Why would you not want to hurt Sean? That's the best part of the show. Come on.
And how do you spell Korasami?
All right, there's a question for all of us. Lucy asks, what would you guys have done if you were in control of the CDC with Ebola? I'm not really sure. I don't know, like, the protocols, like, down to the nitty-gritty of what needs to be done in order to contain the Ebola outbreak. It seems that like the CDC has done maybe a passable job, though I don't really know the specifics of it, because we still had 2 nurses in Dallas come down with Ebola. So, and that's problematic. I'm not sure how much the CDC has control over that situation overall. So I'm not really sure I can give you a very detailed answer of what I would do, because I just don't know enough of how it runs. And, it is as much about the situation as I would like to, in order to be able to make a good policy and attack plan for it.
I got this because I'm obviously an expert on infectious diseases. What I would have done in regards to Ebola was to not spend money researching how people's moods feel after they watch reruns of Seinfeld. No, wait, that's just a random CDC story. What I would have done, and this is actually more substantive, is a few years ago, the company that's the closest to an Ebola vaccine applied for a grant from the CDC to do research on it. And instead of them getting that grant, the grant was awarded to somebody developing something that has to do with smallpox. Turns out that the company developing smallpox smartly gave money to the Obama administration, and that's probably why they got it. So I would, if I was in the CDC, I would build a time machine and undo that error. Or just not let campaign contributions influence me.
Can I answer? I think I have the best answer. Most logical answer. Get the biggest, reddest panic button, put it in the middle of the Washington Mall, and jump up and down on it and scream, "We all are going to get Ebola." That would just totally work for me, because that's essentially what everybody's doing. So, I mean, why don't we just do what the 24/7 news cycle is doing? Just up and down on that red panic button until everybody gets the point that it's not going to actually happen that way, and get really informed. And pass out leaflets.
I guess my answer is going to be boring, because if I were running the CDC, or if I were handling the Ebola situation, I would probably do my best to quarantine areas that need to be quarantined within West Africa. Obviously, there's been some kind of failure as far as protocol is concerned with the people that are giving aid, properly keeping themselves with their PPE and everything. So I would definitely look into that, and I would also look into a lot of the cultural setbacks that are happening. In West Africa, a lot of them don't trust the Western government or Western help. So I would probably use a strategy of trying to train people that are from those areas so that they can spread the word and spread proper handling, because a lot of what's going on in West Africa is not so much because of how easily Ebola is being spread, but how much the structure has failed in those areas.
Good answer. All right. Our resident fascist viewer asks us, do you think the mishandling of Ebola is partly affected by white guilt? I'm not sure what you mean by that. So since we mishandled it, it's because of white guilt, but don't you think we would have done a better job?
I do.
I got it. Hold on. I want to jump in before Tom steals my thunder. They're saying that we feel so bad that they have Ebola in Africa that we want to have it here, so we're mishandling it on purpose.
That's ridiculous.
I know, but that's...
No, I don't think that's what he's talking about, Sean. I think you're totally wrong. I think you're talking about the He's talking about the overreactionariness of it, and I'm reading into his brain. I shouldn't be doing this. Repeat the question again to make sure I'm not wrong on this, because I think I got it better than Sean does. I don't think it's that.
He asked, do you think the mishandling of the Ebola crisis is partly affected by white guilt?
No. White guilt is not anywhere near there. If it was white guilt, we would have thrown money at the problem in Africa a long time ago. And the continent, not the state, because there is no state of Africa, but thrown money at Africa and made sure that Africa was above third world conditions and actually helped these countries grow, and the ones that were like Egypt and doing these ridiculous things would not give them money and put money where it actually went to. That would have been white guilt. No, there's no white guilt here. It's a complete stupidity, complete panic, and complete ridiculousness. And the reason I said jump up on the panic button was to illustrate the point that the biggest person doing that would not be paid attention to. If the head of the CDC actually went out in the Washington Mall with a panic button and started jumping up and down it, we would all collectively ignore that bastard because he was completely off his rocker and go get valuable information, as opposed to listening to what the Fox News and MSNBC and CNN freak the fuck out 24/7 about it. That's why I made that point.
Okay, I was trying to get in the mind of the questioner. The answer obviously is no, but you're about to set Haven off on a foreign aid rant, so take it away.
I mean, I don't really have. We've definitely talked about foreign aid and how useless it can be. I think the questioner is placing what's being done now as it being white guilt. I personally don't think that that's what that is. I know that Iron Nation is a little hyperbolic and very, very sensitive about things, so that's probably just their emotions running wild. But I would say that how we are handling things now is definitely because certain interests are being piqued, and it makes it very difficult to extract natural resources when a bunch of people are dying. It doesn't feel safe for contractors. So now we're definitely going to be doing something about that area and trying to contain it so it doesn't spread to more important areas that we need. But as far as white guilt, no. I think white people have a very hard time being guilty of a lot of things.
Hey,
Okay, so I see Empyrean Cypher has made a clarification to us that it was his right. Basically, what he means by white guilt being a factor is that because of that, some sort of political correctness, that's why we haven't shut down all flights to Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone.
Oh, we have
all travel between them.
We haven't done that because that would be stupid and it wouldn't work.
Yeah, that's the stupidest idea you could do. I totally 100% agree with John. That is
Because
the
how can you
absolute
fight
stupidest
something?
idea.
How can you fight Ebola if you just let it go and don't actually try to fight Ebola?
First of all,
Here's one of the... I'm sorry, go ahead. Sean, if you were going to say something.
I'm like almost Ebola out for the day, but yeah, like first of all, there are no flights from Liberia directly to the United States that I know of. Like you'd have to be routed through another country. Secondly, you're going to cut off an entire continent based on a disease that is not very easily spreadable, and in fact, the reason that it spreads a lot is because of the poor quality of healthcare and because traditions that involve exposing yourself to the dead and bodily fluids in certain parts of the world, which we don't have here. So I'm not like they're not shutting down the air travel because that's dumb and it wouldn't work. And if the virus was spreading, it still wouldn't stop it from spreading. And also, like I've hit my Ebola limit for the day, maybe.
Now, this is not in regards to Ebola, but this is in regards to Haven's point about foreign aid. Can I make another point that I'd like to make on that, Jeff, real quick, with Africa?
Yeah, go ahead.
My problem with foreign aid is this. It's basically money laundering, where we give a country a whole bunch of foreign aid, and then they go buy our fighter jets and buy our planes and everything else. And they don't put the foreign aid into the people and into the population where it matters. It literally is money laundering. If we took just give them the freaking artillery. We're going to do it anyway. We pay for that, give it to them, go from there if we're going to do it. But if it's going to be real foreign aid, make it go to the people that matter to build the society, as opposed to doing this damn stupid thing where it goes to, Lockheed Martin and whoever you builds the GE, you name them. And instead of going to the military industrial complex, just write them the check and stop acting like you're all noble and we all know you're not. There's my point.
All right, I just want to make one foreign aid point, and it's about the nation of Haiti. After the earthquake, we tend to confuse the effectiveness of disaster relief with the effectiveness of long-term relief. After the Haiti earthquake happened, we sent rice and food and all that stuff, and in the short term, that helped a lot. But now, we're still sending just as much rice as we were, and what ended up happening was we put all the self-sufficient rice farmers out of business. So giving the money and the food and the stuff to the people may sound great on paper, but you're actually wrecking parts of their economy by just dumping your resources on them. So, like, foreign aid is super ineffective. It's effective in certain disaster situations, but as a long-term solution, it's better if you let people serve themselves.
Well, Sean, as the resident Haitian on the panel right now, I would say that Haiti, as an example, is very interesting because from its inception of freedom, it's been strangled in its crib. So there's a long history in Haiti of foreign governments ensuring that certain economic ventures cannot happen, will not happen. And as far as the rice thing is concerned, the rice farmers in Haiti have been undermined well before the disaster with the earthquake. That's been something that's been going on for decades. So there are several interests at hand that keep Haiti the way that it is, both within the country and outside of the country. But as far as disaster relief, it can be very helpful in a short term. But that's the problem with us as a government, is that we look at short-term solutions when a lot of the problems that are coming up now deserve long-term solutions and long-term benefits.
But as a government, we don't think long-term, though, Haven. That's the biggest problem. The only government that I know thinks long-term is China. So, and there you have it on that.
Not really. But my point about the rice thing is it was actually in the news recently that the Haitians are poorer now because of our aid. Like, there was a point where after the emergency where it was helping, like right after, and we always do that whenever there's an emergency. We never stop treating it like the emergency just happened. So like that was like that particular thing.
Our companies get hooked on the exports.
Yeah, and they get hooked on the subsidies. All the rice that goes to Haiti is subsidized by the government. That's why we keep growing it. That's why we keep sending it down there. That's why Haitians eat like rice. I think some guy said that we used to eat rice 3 times a week, and now we eat it like twice a day. Like, because it's dirt cheap because we keep sending it over there, and we're putting their farmers out of business. And maybe we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying.
Haven, I have a suggestion for Haiti. Find them an enemy for us. Find some Muslims or something that we need to bomb from them, and we'll fix you guys right up. Everything will be peachy keen in Haiti. We'll fix it up. We'll be there forever, but you'll love us. And there we go. Just find us an enemy.
Tom, that already happened. That common enemy was the Haitian revolters, and America's been there ever fucking since. So that doesn't really help Haiti at all. And in all honesty, Haiti and the island of Hispaniola, period, is in grave danger simply from climate change. You know, the center of the country, the center of the island is pretty much being engulfed by this lake right now. So as far as looking at things long term, I think we need to understand that a lot of times we need to really seriously get out of the way so that countries can industrialize for themselves, grow for themselves, and do a lot of things for themselves, because there are certain things that we as outsiders cannot do for them. They have to do for themselves. So, but we tend to like to cock block that because it aids in our interests as U.S. citizens.
Yeah, and part of that, what they would build, Haven, is infrastructure, and sort of like medical infrastructure in order to help treat things and prevent things like the spread of Ebola. Like, take Nigeria, for example, right? They're actually handling their Ebola outbreak there incredibly well. I think they had, 19 cases, but it's all contained now, and it's not spreading anymore. And they're right there. They're pretty much in the middle of it.
That's honestly because of a lot of that oil money, even though that contract is not great for the people, but that's why that country has a little bit more wealth and a little bit more.
And to their credit, they have used some of that wealth in order to beef up their infrastructure. And they really went after this Ebola thing.
I just gotta mention that here's the thing with these. I was joking a little bit, and I think I just. You must.
Yeah, I can hear you. Not anymore. You can just press mute again.
You were muting and unmuting.
Yeah, I know. My computer is like all sorts of not keeping up today with the show, so my apologies. The problem with the USA getting out of the way is we're an imperialist. This is one thing that the North Koreans say often and often get right. We're an imperialist nation. We have to impose our will, and it's sad. It's a sad commentary because the Republicans talk about our founders so often. They would probably not be happy with how we are right now. They would actually be the first ones, probably, I'd hazard guess, saying, revolt, motherfuckers, revolt, because this is not what they wanted. And it's just sad that we become what, of all people, gets to point out as a tool of their propaganda as true now, which is becoming a imperialist, cock-blocking dick who doesn't do much good anymore, and then gives us more terror than good out of what we do. The first thing I've seen our country do in a long time is help the Yazidis. Now what are we doing? We're bombing Syria. We go from helping to fucking over. So there we go.
Right. That's all the questions that we have. Although I believe Sean probably disagrees with with your example, but I think
you got like 8 million. You have a bunch of other countries that call us imperialists that aren't North Korea that you could have used as your example. Just saying.
Fair enough. Fair point.
In all honesty, what other country isn't imperialist as far as the economic north is concerned? If you're a first world country, you got there by being an imperialist, and you're probably still an imperialist. There's nobody without blood on their hands.
Unless you're Canada, you just kind of hung out.
And to my defense, I use North Korea because they're the ones who always scream it the loudest. They're like the Fox News is saying how we're imperialist.
I just think it's Kim Jong unbelievable that that's your first choice. Get it, Kim Jong?
Even after the explanation, we'll talk later. Yeah, bad pun. Bad pun. I don't even think Jank would have made that pun. It was so bad.
It was unbearable. Unbearable. All right.
Unbearable.
We should wrap this whole thing up.
Jeff, that was very unexpected.
Okay. Anyway, I was reading. By the way, before we wrap things up, I've been reading through the chat through most of the show, and I've noticed that most people continue to be stuck on Ebola, which I think is funny because like everybody's like Ebola'd out here on the panel, right? But at the same time, you guys can't stop talking about Ebola, which is crazy.
I could go hours if you want me to. I just don't have the time.
I'm sure we could. But I think all of us are sort of sick of the Ebola scare at this point. So I promise we're gonna try to not have Ebola stories tomorrow. So there you go. No Ebola. No Ebola. Good. All right. Speaking of tomorrow, you can catch us tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Young Turks Network, TYT Nation. So make sure to, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you can see us, so you can find our videos later. Follow us on our Facebook page so you can also see the links to the show and the clips that we put out in case you missed parts of the show. And of course, I've been putting out new clips every day from my solo venture around the nation. Those have been being posted every day as well, so check those out, catch up on what I've been recording, and we'll see you tomorrow here on TYT Community. Remember, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all for joining. Sean, Haven, Tom, and of course, thank you guys for watching here at home. We're here from TYT Community. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
It was a pleasure to be of service.
Bye, guys.
Thanks so much.